All right, so I'm doing another interview, and I'll go ahead and say this is Jacquee from or of Calypso Plays on PUBG Mobile on Facebook Live, and I really appreciate you being here so much,
Thank you
and
for having me.
my pleasure. And I give my intro almost on every one of these videos, and hopefully by now y'all know that the statistics are in the United States, one in every five Americans or US citizens suffer with some form of mental disturbance. I use that word so it's not like stigmatic because my focus is to stop the stigma, and that's why we're doing this to encourage people to speak out and to let you know that it's okay to not be okay and you are not alone. I am one in the five myself. And so I do have a line of questions that I'm going to ask. And the reason why I'm doing it with different people is because we all come from different walks of life. We have different circumstances, different experiences, and we think differently as well. And we deal with difficulties differently, and hopefully something that one of us say in this is able to reach you and be helpful. So I'm gonna ask her to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay. Well, as Becca said, I am a PUBG mobile streamer for right now on Facebook. I do plan on expanding to other games, but for right now, we're just gonna stick to PUBG because that's what I know best. Um, I do also work at a dog boarding facility on weekends as well, and I absolutely love it. I've been in the job industry for about 4 to 5, I think, going on 5 years now. I adore animals. That's one thing about me. As you can see, my background, my dog, they're absolute my lives, honestly. Um, do you want me to do like the about me a little bit besides streaming and stuff? Okay, I wasn't sure. So I grew up. Uh, I'm 24, and 22 of those years I lived on a petting farm with my family. It was more of an educational farm, to educate little kids, give them like pony rides, train rides, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where my love for animals started. I am also vegan as well. I've been vegan for about also 4 to 5 years. I lost count. I think it was back in like 2016, I want to say. Um, I'm Mexican American as well. You guys can probably see my flag back there. What else was I gonna say? Honestly, that's kind of like the main stuff about me. Just huge. Try to stick to animals as much as possible. They help me so much with a lot of the struggles that I have mentally. That's kind of like my go-to, where they make me feel, comfortable. I'm one of those people. You see the memes where it's like, oh, you think you're crazy because you're talking to your dog or you're talking to animals and stuff. That's me. You'll see me at the park just having a whole conversation, or at work, having a whole conversation with my dog, with other people's dogs.
Tell
That's
us
me.
about Luna. Is your dog Luna?
Um, Luna is my baby. She she's technically my first dog. I've had like family dogs, two family dogs previously, but she's like my first actual dog. So I'm very protective of her, and she's really, really close and attached to me, and I am to her I think a little too much, but that's my faults. So I know where I know where I went wrong. So the next time I get another dog, I'll make sure not to have them to be too attached to me because I know it's not healthy either. So
You sound like a mom right now. I know what I did
yeah,
wrong.
yeah, it's intense. She's quite literally my baby.
Well, that was a heck of an intro there. Thank you for that. Do you have five more things you could tell us about yourself, or was that good enough?
I think I'm gonna stick with that stuff. So for right now.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you some questions, and there's no right or wrong answer. This is just me asking you what you think, and let's do this. So the first question is regarding mental health. And
Okay.
I'd like to ask you what you think mental health is.
Um, I think mental health is your I don't know. I feel like it depends. Cuz for me personally, mental health to me just means that I'm more in a positive state of mind because that's something that I've struggled with personally is being more optimistic, being more independent, just being stronger individually, like by myself, because I think that's something that I've struggled with, like I said, personally. So I think that's kind of what it is to me.
Okay. And so, with that response in mind, the next question is, do you think that mental health is important, and why do you think so?
Absolutely, yes, I do think it's very important. I think that it's something that not a lot of people like to talk about. It's something that I didn't necessarily like talking about either. I didn't really start talking about it till I want to say this past year. Um, I just think that people kind of view it as like a weakness to kind of not be mentally strong or not have this facade of what people think you are versus like how you really are like inside, because I know that's something that I struggled with a lot as well, as people had like this really intense image of me because I did ROTC in high school. So I was like, kind of headstrong, like, okay, like we got this, let's go, like we know what to do. And then like underneath it all, I was just kind of like, do I know what I'm doing? Like, it's kind of hard. So like living up to somebody else's image of you is tough sometimes. Why is it important? Because a lot of people struggle through it, and sometimes they're not comfortable talking about it. I mean, I'm still not entirely comfortable talking about it, but I know that the only way I feel like I'm going to get better is by opening up about it. So it is important. Maybe not to other people. I think it depends. I think not everybody's going to want to have their story out in public like this. Maybe that's not their kind of thing. Maybe it's more personal. Maybe they need to be more personal, and it everybody's different. So I mean, yeah.
That's true. I've asked a handful of people, like several, probably 2 dozen people within the course of 3 weeks to do these, and some well-known streamers have declined because they didn't necessarily want their story
Yeah.
on in social media, or they're not comfortable doing interviews. And everybody's got their limit, and
Right. Yeah.
that as well takes a strong person to acknowledge your limits, and because that could be a trigger as well. So
Right. Yeah.
um oh, do you think that mental illness is common amongst people?
Yes, I do think so. Even I think even with people that have had a very I don't want to say like easy life, but like simple. You grew up in a stable home with, both of your parents, nice siblings, like nobody's doing anything crazy. Even people, I think in situations like that, you never know. Like maybe they get bullied at school and they don't talk to their parents about it because they have that stigma of like that perfect life, right? And that I feel like also kind of affects people where it's like, oh no, like I have a really good life. I did this because like that's kind of like why I felt like that too. Is I had an amazing childhood growing up where I grew up. I was very comfortable. My father gave me everything. My parents, both of them did. But I'm saying like I know what it feels like to like, oh, you had an easy life. You had a comfortable life. So why are you even like what like what's wrong with you? That's also kind of like where I was at one point. So I think that it is common, and I think that just because you have an quote unquote simple or easy life doesn't mean that you don't struggle with it.
That's actually really cool to hear you say that because I myself had a good life growing up with both of my parents, a brother, everything we needed. My daddy was a hard worker, and my mom, when my brother and I were able to, well, when we grew up, we got older, she was able to go back to work, and both of my parents
Yeah.
were working, and, we had nothing. I had childhood cancer, but outside of that, nothing traumatic happened. So we had a good life. And
Yeah.
I personally, this is my story. I know I'm interviewing you, but
Mhm.
I do have physical issues like fibromyalgia, like my immune system is impacted, and that affects me mentally as well because
Yeah.
it's so isolating. Like, and
Right.
I encourage everybody to speak out for yourself because only you know what you're going through. Only you can speak for yourself. And
Right. Yeah.
it's easy to kind of undermine it saying, oh, I'm blessed. Like, look at all the stuff I have. I'm blessed. Why am I,
Right.
but mental illness is a mental health is impacted from mental illness as well. I've
Right.
never been diagnosed myself by a psychiatrist or a doctor or anything.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure mine is a chemical imbalance due to hormone imbalance.
Mhm.
I have I have some stuff, but okay, it's PMDD, it's severe PMS, and oh
Oh.
my gosh, it's bad. And I
Yeah.
think that's the cause of mine. Mine's like a chemical imbalance. So,
Yeah.
but yes, you're simple. I like the way you said that. Just
Yeah.
because we have a simple life doesn't mean that we're not dealing with stuff or
Right.
overthinking or trying to do a balance act. I like that a
Yeah.
lot. I like.
Yeah. Growing up, I think the only thing that obviously I was kind of young when everything that I went through kind of all spiraled, but my father is an alcoholic. He's been sober for I think it's like 16, 17 years now. It's been so long. It's when he originally first because I'm a daddy's girl. I'm not gonna lie. I grew up and I was very, 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 very close to my dad. So he had a drinking issue closer to when I was younger, and then he decided to go start going to AA meetings. I would go with him. Like I remember I would go with him to every single meeting, and even to this day, like he'll tell me like I'm sober because of you. You know, like I he had I think one relapse I think a year into it, but then after that he's been solid. So I think that's the main thing that I went through as a child, but we also went to family therapy as well. I hardly, I'm not going to lie, I don't even remember. Like I remember going to therapy, I remember talking to somebody, but I don't remember like I don't remember what I said. I don't remember. I just remember that we did go to family therapy all together, and we would sometimes go into different rooms and stuff like that. So I think that definitely helped me work through it. That was something that I did go through at a young age, but I don't. Sometimes I think that it did affect me, and sometimes I don't. It's just depends.
I got you. That makes sense. Family struggle. I don't think that people realize that when we're like me, I struggle. You say you struggle. It impacts the people around us, and it's the same.
Right.
You mentioned your family therapy. Your family was struggling, and it impacted more than just your dad. It was kind of like the ripple effect. It goes out.
Right.
So I'm
Yeah.
sure it had some impact. My next question is regarding the stigma. Why do you think that there's such a stigma in this world right now about mental illness or mental health?
Oof, that's a tough one. I think it kind of started way back, like way back in the day. Because I feel like I think it started more so with men, unfortunately. You know, the stigma of men having to be the strong, the provider, the person that you can lean on in the family, right? So I think with that, like it kind of set at least them further a little bit back. I feel like women have always been maybe more open to talking about stuff, whether it's with their family or if they're religious, they go to like church, they pray, like stuff like that. But I feel like with that, it was like you said, like the ripple effect is it started with that, and then what if, there was no father figure, there was no man in the picture, and then you had to raise your whole family, and you have to be that, like I said earlier, that how do you explain it, like you're the strong one, you have to be the strong one for your family, you have to be the provider, you have to be the person that they can confide in, and then what happens when you have something that you're going through and you don't know who to talk to about it, because you don't want to tell, like, hey, your kids, I'm having a hard time, like I can't have your load on top of my load, so then you're just kind of stuck. You can't really, you don't want to ruin that image of what you are to other people, and that's where I kind of think that it started personally.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense too. I'm a mom of a family, a blended family, but we've got 6 children, hit and miss. Usually there's four here all the time. And,
Yeah.
I see them struggling too. And mental illness can be hereditary as well. And
Mhm.
I'm trying to stop the stigma within my own
Yeah.
house. And we talk about it a lot. And I'm very prideful myself, and
Mhm.
I'm very stubborn, and I'm one of the strong ones. And I've learned that even the strong ones need a strong one. And
Right,
I'll make
absolutely.
an effort and go out to dinner with one of my best friends here. Just, whew, it's important. I gotta have some
Yeah.
me time and help build myself back up. But if I snap at the kids and stuff, I make sure to tell them I'm so sorry. Right now I'm going through
Right.
depression and I really didn't mean it. I'm
Yeah.
transparent, I'm real, there's no faking it. And you said it, you thought it goes way, way back, and I totally agree with that. It can
Yeah.
be a cultural thing too. Some cultures, the
Absolutely,
men
yeah.
aren't allowed to feel, or they're harsh on the women, or their head of house, and
Right.
any form of tears or
Yeah,
affection.
see, I agree with that. See, my father, like I said, a lot of my personality, I mean, I'm like a mixture of everybody in my family, but I get certain key traits from my father is he's always been like, we're Mexican, so it was more of an old fashioned, like, he's the man of the house and he's the strong one. And even now, like, I think it took me us, like, once I graduated and then into adulthood, and then him like leaving, I think that's where everyone kind of started like crumbling a little bit. Like that's when everyone kind of realized, oh hey, like he's not always going to be the strong one. It's not always going to be him. Maybe it's my mom, maybe it's my sisters, maybe it's me. And even like sometimes he tells me, he's like you're my baby. He's like, but like I look up to you with advice that you've given me over things that I don't have experience in, that you have more. So hearing that from my father, that I was like, oh, he's always a strong one. Oh, I gotta be like him. I have to be strong. I can't be upset. I don't like crying in public. It's not my thing. Don't like showing weakness like that. It's not that, like, I see it like that, but I know that it's not. Like, I know in the back of my head that it's not. It, like you say, it takes courage to show that much. It Not everybody wants to talk about stuff like that. Not everybody wants to show that kind of emotion to the public, and I get it, because like I said, I like a couple years ago I would never be doing this, not even opening up to people about it, not talking about any of my struggles, not any of my family struggles. But I think that it really does help. So I'm glad that I'm doing it.
Yes, I'm glad you're doing it too. And I really, I know I said it already, but from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you doing this. We just, we as a group of people have got to start speaking out about it to break that stigma
Yeah,
and not worry about fear and judgment. I mean, we're going to have mental issues whether people are judging or not, but it just makes it
exactly.
worse. And in this point in time, after this COVID and now just the riots and the world is going crazy, we have got to be more loving and more kind.
Yeah,
And
there's a lot of pain in the world.
yes,
A
yes.
lot.
So, my last question is, in your opinion, how do you think that we as a community can help others who are suffering?
Oof. Well, like you say, I think the first step is bringing exposure, which is exactly what you're doing. And I think it takes a lot of courage to do something like that, to reach out to people, to even just put your own story out there. I mean, talking about it, like you say, I think is the best way to do it. I mean, you can't expect people to just open up about it if no one's talking about it. So the fact that you're bringing exposure and bringing other people in and letting other people hear, my story, the everyone else's story that you've interviewed, people may relate to mine, they may relate to somebody else's, and then maybe it'll cause a chain effect that will help everyone talk about it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm hoping for, just to shine a light in this dark world, man. Is there, before we wrap it up, is there anything else that you would like to share?
Um, Honestly, I just hope that with what you're doing and with everybody as well as myself sharing our stories and struggling with whatever it is you're struggling with, whether it's depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, addiction, like whatever it is, I genuinely really do hope that us talking about it, even if you don't want to talk about it, like I'm really hoping that hearing somebody else talk about it will help you as well, because not everybody is ready to take that step of talking about it to somebody, and especially to somebody that's completely random, or talking to a psychiatrist or a therapist or anything like that. Maybe you're not ready for that step yet. Hopefully this helps in some kind of way. That's what I have to say.
That's perfect. That is my hope as well. That's why I keep doing these.
Yeah.
Man, all right. Well, I know that this was a little tough for you. And again, I appreciate this. Thank you so much. And
Um,
uh, until next time,
okay. That's good.
bye.
Bye.